Snooker Loopy, not so we, me and him and them and me. We'll show you what we can do with a load of balls and a snooker cue. Pop the red stand, screw back for the yellow, green, brown, blue, pink and black. Snooker Loopy, not so we're all Snooker Loopy.
Hello and welcome to the Snooker Loopy Podcast. This is the final one of the season, or the end of season, or the pre-season. It all kind of rolls into one. It's a very weird time to be a snooker fan because technically the professional season's over, but then they have the World Seniors, then they have Q School, but before the end of Q School, I think the Women's World Championship, it all kind of overlaps in, quite frankly, a mess of a way. But we're still here, bringing you the podcast. My name is Tom Mayhew. I'm joined by my very, very good friend. It's the JH of South Shields. It's Joe Haddard.
A very good evening, Hazel, Rishi, Seema, and all of those, and everybody at home. Good afternoon. How are you doing, Tom? In the post Crucible Blues, as we like to call them.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It was a thing where we had the end of the Crucible, then we were straight back at the Crucible with the seniors. But to be completely honest, the number of frames I watched was single digits because it doesn't compare. It's like being really sad that you finished a roast dinner and then someone goes, "Here's a Happy Meal," and a Happy Meal's fine any other time, but when you've just had a lovely roast, you don't want chicken McNuggets. So no offense to Jimmy White, who I've just called a chicken McNugget, but yeah. So I wasn't that bothered.
It's the chicken McNugget, Steve Davis.
Well, it would suit him. That would suit him. That's all I'm saying. But I'm doing all right, mate. How are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I resonate with what you say about the seniors. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about it. But there was obviously a lot of shocks in the first round. So Jimmy White going out, Ken Doherty going out, and that sort of ruins it a little bit. Tony Drago was doing really well. I think he was 3-0 up in the quarterfinal against Alfie Burden, who eventually won the tournament. And then he went out, and there was 2 respotted blacks. Yeah, but I mean, there was a lot of empty seats for the seniors. I actually think in general the seniors was less well received this year in terms of commercial success, social media attention, and just overall coverage. It just felt a bit flat this year, I felt, and I think that's a big shame.
I mean, that probably shows why we're going to get the Class of 92 involved next year, really, which will change it massively as an event, because it won't be about celebrating the heroes from days gone by. It'll be about watching Ronnie O'Sullivan whitewash Alfie Burden, which won't be...
Yeah.
It won't quite be the same, but I do think the shocks actually really, really harmed it as a commercial product, because I did think that, so 1985, that was the peak of snooker on TV in the UK. 18 million people watching it overnight, and then 40 years later, Zhao Zhengtong wins the title. 150 million people watching it in China. Then a week later, Channel 5, 15 frames, Alfie Burden versus Aaron Canavan.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the thing, and I do get what they're trying to do with the seniors. But do you think, Tom, that it should be a tournament that is invite only, perhaps?
I think it should just be. I don't even know if they need the tournament aspect. I think it just could be called Snooker Legends. It could just be players from the day gone by, basically doing what they do on the exhibition circuit, and put that on TV. You have Dennis and JV cracking some jokes. You have Steve Davis coming along, Stephen Hendry.
Yeah.
You have Cliff Thorburn, Joe Johnson. You have these people. I don't really know how many people, unless you're Alfie Burden or Aaron Canavan, massively care about the competition element.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like the tournament element. I feel it's wrong when we have David Lilly and Lee Walker and Alfie Burden being world champions.
No, I disagree. David, no, I disagree. David Lilly deserved it.
We're not having it.
Yeah, the other two, no, but David Lilly, come on.
But I think what the World Seniors should be all about is legends of the game. I don't mind the fact that it's certainly the World Seniors Championship. I think that the rest of them absolutely fine. Maybe you should have one wild card, and that's maybe the best performance senior throughout the season. But I would much rather be watching Dennis and Joe Johnson and Steve Davis and even players like Nigel Bond, reached a world final. Joe Swale, I'm thinking all of these players that have had Crucible pedigree, if you like, to come in and play.
I'm not
like
sure. Crucible legends. Something like that.
I don't think Alfie Burden and Lee Walker, Aaron Canavan, as much as it's a great opportunity for these guys to go and win a tournament, I'm not sure they've earned the right to be there. In my opinion, anyway.
They have all come through qualifying tournaments, and I think Aaron Canavan was the number one senior player, and they have grafted and made the effort on the seniors tour to qualify. And I suppose the counter argument would be, is it not actually quite nice that someone like a Rodney Goggins can play at the Crucible when otherwise he'll never ever play there? Is it not quite nice that you have Rodney Goggins and Coldish Yahau and all these players finally living out their dream?
But then, is it right that some random player from South Africa, if he hasn't played at the Crucible before, should that be his first opportunity? I don't know. I don't think I agree with how it is all decided. They have world represented. It's like Igor Figueiredo. Wasn't much of a professional snooker player. Ends up winning the world championship in seniors. It doesn't sit right with me that it's not the likes of. Really, what it should be is, I think Steve Davis won a seniors world championship one year, and Jimmy White has obviously won seniors world championships. That makes sense to me. That makes complete sense to me that those guys win seniors world championships, and I just think it taints the whole tournament when there's players that most people have never heard of. Unless you're a snooker nut, most people have never heard of these guys. I mean, to put into perspective, this South African player that I mentioned, he was practicing in a club fairly near me, and a guy that I have played in the snooker league I play in recently was on the table next to him and practiced with this South African guy. Got beat 9-0, but he was practicing for his match against Ken Doherty at the Crucible. I shouldn't be this closely connected to somebody that's playing at the Crucible, really.
But maybe though that is the beauty of it, is that one day, Joe, you could qualify to play in the seniors. Do you know what I mean?
But that's ridiculous. I think because these guys have never done anything on the snooker tour. So why are they at the seniors? The seniors should be for players that used to be on the snooker tour but aren't good enough for the world tour anymore. That's my view anyway.
Well, yeah, we'll mention the two players Joe is talking about mainly. There is Hassan Kurd and Charles Jonk, who's a South African player. Also Fabio Leurson from Brazil, Wayne Townsend from Britain, from England, and really, even as snooker people who are snooker loopy nuts are we, I'd only know Wayne Townsend out of those four, and that's only because I follow Q School. Do you know what I mean? If I didn't follow Q School, I wouldn't know the other three, which shows how sort of obscure these names are, and the fact that Hassan Kurd was in the semi-final. You just kind of go like, I mean, yeah, if it was Aaron Canavan versus Hassan Kurd in the final, you just think that the TV ratings would be even lower. And I dread to think how low they were compared to that 150 million, because I just go like, who's tuning? I tuned in for it because
I'd be surprised if it broke 150,000, Tom. If I'm honest, I don't know what the ratings were, but yeah, and the coverage in general was pretty pants. There was you missed the start of the frames, and yeah, it just felt amateurish, and of course it's an amateur tournament, but a few years ago, I think the World Seniors was really picking up momentum. It was streaming on BBC just after the World Championship. You still had the likes of John Parrott and Dennis Taylor playing in it, Cliff Thorburn, Joe Johnson. All these guys were still playing in the World Seniors, and I just think it's lost a bit of that pizzazz when actually the two most famous players there were Jimmy White and Ken Doherty now. Obviously, we had Joe Perry and Dominic Dale. I think they're exactly the sort of players you want in there. Former professionals. I'm not that fussed about Alfie Burden being there, but when he's probably fifth biggest billing, I guess Tony Drago as well. But the people I enjoy watching are the likes of Ken and Jimmy and Tony Drago. I'm not that bothered about other players, really. And I think actually if you want to grow the seniors, the way to do it is to have more legends and more recognisable faces playing in that tournament.
Yeah. I'm sure we've talked about this probably every year, but it does really represent the identity crisis that the seniors has always kind of had, really, because it did initially kind of spring off from the whole sort of Snooker Legends tour, where it would just be basically former world champions playing exhibitions, was turned into like a little mini sort of tournament, and then it became something a bit more professional, and they ended up going, okay, let's get Peter Lyons in, or Nigel Bond, or other sort of people in, so it was a bit less about the big names, big personalities. Then they went, let's lower the age to 40. Then they put it up to 45. And now the age is 45 if you're on tour, or 40 if you're an amateur. And so it does feel like even they don't really know what they want it to be. But I guess the smart money is, if you want it to be something that Channel 5 are going to be streaming regularly, you need it to be more like, frankly, the other thing Channel 5 streams, which is the 900, which does have Dennis Taylor, it does have Ken, it does have, all these people kind of shipped in, and actually it probably mixes them with the amateurs a bit better, because really, because the short format, I think it's all right. You don't mind if you don't know who someone is, and it's a one-frame match, but as I said, when it's 15 frames, and it's, there's 1 century between them, yeah, it's just not great. But of course, Channel 5, Joe, will have a lot more snooker apparently now. We've not been confirmed officially, but apparently the word on the street is that ITV no longer having it, and it's going to jump to Channel 5.
Yeah, it's a weird situation where it's certain tournaments from ITV4. So I think it's the Players' Championship and the Tour Championship are moving to Channel 5, which I think is a big coup for Channel 5, actually. They're big snooker tournaments. ITV are going to be keeping the British Open and Champion of Champions, which is a bit strange to me, that they're keeping those tournaments. But yeah, Channel 5 have used John Virgo and Dennis Taylor as part of their commentary, so I'm excited to see if there's going to be some sort of hybrid of having John Virgo, Dennis Taylor, but also having the likes of Dave Hendon, Phil Yates, and Alan McManus, for instance, Hendry. Just having some sort of merging of those two teams. I think that would be really cool. and it just it feels quite exciting to me that we can have some sort of middle ground between the two sets of coverage.
But
and also them commentating on other tournaments and people finally saying, "Oh well, at least they watch something other than the Triple Crown."
but I wonder though, do you think that those two sides get on, the BBC side and
No.
the Euro? I reckon there's a rivalry. Do you reckon they'll be turning up? That Dave Hendon's got a cue and he's going like smacking it into his hand, and he's like, "You want some?" I reckon they're going to be properly. I don't think they get on. I think they'll be swinging balls around, knobbing them at each other, and
John
all sorts.
Berg will go, I'm not going in the box with Phil Yates. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. Funnily enough, Dave Hendon is already kind of the middle ground because he's always in the credits for the BBC coverage because he is their statistician.
Well, he's the perfect man for it. He's the perfect man. He knows
So,
everything. He's like a walking. He's a walking almanac. That man, isn't he?
Yeah, no, he absolutely is. But yeah, it's always good to have more snooker on free to air. Even ITV4 is slightly less accessible than Channel 5, of course. So I think that's a really good move. I think hopefully it gets more eyes on two of the biggest tournaments of the season in the Players' Championship and the Tour Championship. I think it's a really exciting move from Channel 5. They're obviously liking what they're seeing with snooker and with a lot of the snooker moving to TNT, of course. Hopefully they can drip feed more and more of the tournaments onto a Channel 5 to go along with the BBC and ITV coverage that we've been enjoying.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. And of course, the remaining events on ITV, the Champion of Champions, Alfie Burden's going to have qualified. Alfie Burden is going to be in the Champion of Champions. That kind of rounds it all up quite nicely. And there's another debate to have about whether the Seniors Champion should be in there, along with probably the Shootout Champion. People would argue about possibly the Women's Champion in terms of quality of play, but that's a debate we'll all have probably in November or December when the championship comes around.
Well,
and
I wonder if this will be the last year that can happen because, of course, the Seniors Tour is breaking away from WST, isn't it? So I don't know if that'll end up meaning that they can't be eligible for the Champion of Champions anymore.
Well, it's not been confirmed it will happen anyway, because I think the seniors on the ranking list of tiers, it's always quite low, isn't it? So
yeah. You got to have repeat winners, haven't you?
Yeah, so it's still, even if he was allowed in, it's not been confirmed yet. But usually they do get in. But it will be interesting to see whether Alfie Burden's allowed in. But I did see though, 20 grand is Alfie Burden's highest prize winnings in his career. So
wow,
for someone who's been
pro, sort of says it all. I mean, people that qualify for the Crucible get 20 grand. Yeah. Anyway, we can discuss that. Do let us know what you think. People at home. Obviously, me and Tom have reasonably similar opinions most of the time. But if you guys want to get in touch, of course, fanzheng email snookerloopypodcast@gmail.com, or get involved in the YouTube comment section as well. We do love seeing your comments and obviously seeing different opinions, because that's what this is all about. Our opinions are just opinions. They're not necessarily right or wrong. So we'd love to open up the debate with you guys as well.
Well, and if Alfie Burden wants to come on the podcast, I'd happily have a chat.
Of course. But
I think he's always seemed like quite a nice lad, so I don't mind him winning for that reason. So there we go.
Yes, he's a lovely guy. You couldn't meet a nicer bloke than
Alfie,
of course. This young English player.
The World Seniors, I don't know whether it will carry over into the 900, because I don't know whether it counts as a professional event, but it was the last professional event of Michaela Tab's career.
Yes, of course. Michaela Tab has retired, star of Stephen Hendry's This Is Snooker, International Snooker, and of course refereed the 2012 and 2009 finals, I think. So, absolutely amazing referee and legend, probably one of the first three referees that you would think about when you mention snooker referees. I'd say up there with Jan Verhaas and probably John Williams, who of course was such a legend, and Len Ganley, we'll put him up there as well. But yeah, I think Michaela, absolute legend of the sport, trailblazer for women referees, and actually, it's a fairly 50-50 split these days with female and male referees, which I think is purely because of her, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, trailblazer is the word. It's spot on. And I mean, the irony for all the sexism that probably swirls around snooker quite often. I believe Michaela Tab used to be a pro pool player, so she could probably at least whip most of the other referees' bums at snooker. So there we go.
Although I believe there used to be referee profiles on WST's website, and I believe a couple of the referees have had century breaks in snooker before. So, some of them are all right.
Does it count if they're refereeing themselves, though?
That's true. But what we need to see, Tom, is a referee in the World Seniors Championship. I mean, it feels it feels like about the right level, I think.
And the World Seniors Champion for 2026 is Leo Scullion.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Leo. But yeah, of course, we've sort of come to the end of the season. Obviously, we sort of shared our thoughts of the World Championship as we went along. But now the dust has settled a little bit. How do you reflect on those 17 days at the Crucible, Tom? And of course, our first ever Chinese World Champion, and Mark Williams getting to a final. Ronnie O'Sullivan returning to the circuit.
Yeah, well, I think Ronnie did a fantastic job to reach the semi-finals. I think that Xing Tong was the worthy winner. There's been some talk about whether there should be a rest day or something like that, with the whole Xing Tong having a day off when Mark Williams was up playing late and then had to play again effectively something like 13 hours later. I can't see that ever happening because I don't know what the stats are across all the finals, but I'm sure it's probably actually you get a slight advantage if you are the person who plays first and doesn't finish late. But I think it was probably heightened by obviously the 7-1 scoreline, but I think there was there was already elements of luck that came into play, and I think we did say at the time it could have been 5-3, and if it was 5-3, I think no one would be having this debate. So really, I think it was just the way the balls went. That's my opinion.
Yeah, lots of debate about the format of the World Championship. Weirdly, all the players on the media day, they're all sort of quizzed by various different media outlets, and one particular one sort of made traction after the World Championship, and that was Neil Robertson suggesting that they should change it into 3 best of 19s and 2 best of 25s for the whole tournament. So interesting suggestions. I as a fan, I love actually the format as it is. The only one that is a bit weird is the semi-final lasting 3 days. I don't really know how you could do that differently. I wouldn't like to really reduce the frames too much in that, but
well, the argument for doing semis differently would be getting rid of the one table setup. Arguably, would it be a case of trying to be, because obviously with the FA Cup final, when they moved the semis to Wembley, there was the argument some people had where they said, "Oh, it makes playing at Wembley less exciting and less enjoyable." But then other people would say, "Well, there's teams who only ever get to the semi-final. At least they get to play at Wembley." And maybe there's a similar debate to be had about the 2-table setup, about maybe if you did save it for the final, it would make it even more prestigious. But then tradition says it should be for the semi-finals, and then players who only get to the semi-finals would go, "No, I want it to stay how it is." So, I mean, there's no sign of them changing it, but who knows?
Ultimately, I think we're going to get to a bit of acceptance of there's probably only going to be 2 more World Championships in its current format, either which way. So, I think if it moves, when it moves, I think it will drastically change the format, because I'm not sure if it goes to China or if it goes to Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure they're going to want 4-session matches, to be honest.
I mean, it's interesting because I think obviously that probably comes from an era where, they want the matches to be longer for even more TV ratings, when it was a really big pull and a really big hit. And then I guess arguably the Chinese ratings will justify that right now. But I do wonder whether the 2-table semi-finals will go in future. I would understand it logically, to be honest. There would be some element of me going, okay, I get why you'd want to do that if they do go down the route of trying to make it less, not take as much time up. But then also, I mean, if we move from the Crucible, there could be a 3-table setup. We don't know what's going to happen. There could be a 5-table setup. There could be a 16-table setup, Joe. All the matches playing at once, and you sit in a seat and you get spun around the arena so you can watch whichever one you want.
Well, funnily enough, there was some plans leaked a couple of days ago from somewhere in China, who are planning on building an identical replica of the Crucible, but also attaching to that areas where they can play all the qualifiers, where they can have fan zones. It was quite impressive, actually, the plans that were there. I'll try and locate them for you. But it's one of those things where you don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but it does feel like it's going that way.
I mean, arguably, Xingtong Willian could make them sign that contract. Do you know what I mean? It could be them going, okay, let's move it there, because, arguably that proves that actually the game is much bigger in China, whether we like it or not. It is. So
and I think it's impossible for it to not be. Because it's a billion population, isn't it, in China? So there's not a lot you can do. We can't just expand the size of Britain. I'm just sending Tom the images of these plans, just to sort of feast your eyes over. But
Joe, when they went to Saudi Arabia and we had famously Jack Dazowski wearing the headdress.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see Dennis Taylor doing similar in China?
I don't think we'll see Dennis Taylor in China, to be quite honest with you, Tom. So, yeah.
No!
Yeah. But, no, I mean... that debate will rumble on over the next couple of years. Obviously, Xintong winning the World Championship will help the case for China to bring snooker there. Who knows what will happen? Obviously, most people's opinions is that they want to keep it at the Crucible.
Most British people's opinions. I wonder how many people in China, and this has never been a thing that's been covered really, but I wonder how many Chinese fans would love to see it over there, because obviously everyone here wants it to stay here because we're here, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there would be plenty of Chinese fans who would argue, well, actually, our viewership is for that one final, their viewership was probably bigger than the UK audience over the past 10 years. Do you know what I mean? Sort of for generally, because we probably get about 3 or 4 million, I think, for a thing, which is big for telly nowadays in the UK, but it's not crazy. So they would be able to argue, actually, bring it to China, and hey, maybe that will happen, or maybe there'll be a
Yeah.
a Beijing World Championship. I don't know. Maybe they'll have something similar. Who knows?
Who knows? We will find out, and of course, we will cover all of that news over the next couple of years, up to and including 2027, the centenary World Championship and the 50th anniversary of the Crucible. And what better time would there be to end it if it indeed it has to end? That would be very fitting, I suppose. But yeah, the 2024-25 season is coming to an end. Some people see Q School as the start of the next season, which I guess it is, because players have dropped off the tour. And you will remember, Tom, that over the last few years we have done our Q School special and selecting our teams for the Q School special. Now we're going to do it as part of Cue the Laughter this year. So Tom, shall we cue the laughter?
Oh, let's do it. This is literally my favourite bit of the season, and it's right at the start or the end, whichever way you want to see it, but it's always a laugh. It's just me and Joe picking out a unique group of players, I would say. I don't think anyone else quite picks out players like we do, Joe, do they? And we try and... Me and Joe have teams, and we give each other points based on how well the players do. And then we see at the end of it how well me and Joe did when we tot up the scores.
Now, just to let you know, over the last 2 years, so we started doing this in 2023, or at least with the points-based system, that's when we did it. I managed to guess one player joining the tour that year, that was Andrew Higginson, and you managed to guess one player, which was Alexander Erzenbacher. And Tom, you actually won that 29-26 overall. Stephen Hallworth and Robin Hull getting you over the line there. But last year, Tom, I actually guessed two of the 8 players to qualify for the tour. Taylor, who I don't know who Taylor is.
Alan Taylor, I presume.
Oh yeah, Alan. It'll be Alan Taylor, of course. Alan Taylor.
Joe guessed Dennis Taylor. He cheated.
And Wang Yukin, of course, had both of them. You didn't guess a single player right last year. The closest you got was Dylan Emery. He got you 7 points. And you did have the Pinchers father and son last year. So I wonder if there'll be any similar themes this year. We are using the entry list from snooker.org. And this year, Tom, I mean, maybe this has been there in the past, but the 4th column is died. So they've got name, nationality, born, died. I'm hoping that we've got no dead players taking part in Q School this year, Tom. It seems like we haven't, but
my money, mate, is on Fred Davis. He's going to go all the way.
But yeah, we've got players that started their professional journey as long ago as 1980 with Tony Knowles. Dean Reynolds is in there again. 1981. Barry Pinches, 1989. We've got players with ranking tournament victories, Tom. Tony Knowles with 2. Anthony Hamilton with 1 ranking tournament. And a new little tab this year, maximums. We've got 5 players in the draw that have made maximums. Sean O'Sullivan, Rory McLeod, Barry Pinches, Andrew Higginson, and of course, recently crowned World Seniors Champion, Alfie Burden. Amongst the lineup, we have 12 players that have just dropped off the tour, ranging from Ashley Carty, who was number 68, down to Andrew Paget, who was number 99. But Yeah, just obviously just a quick roundup of a lot of the players in there. But is there anybody that I've mentioned so far that's taken your fancy?
Well, Joe, I've got something here for you because
Oh,
the two players I picked to qualify 2 years ago, Alexander Ursenbacher and Andrew Higginson, are both in Q School once again 2 years later. So I'm going to give it to you, Joe, that this is the Snooker Loopy Podcast Q School curse.
yeah, could well be. So Wang, you could be back off tour next year. I mean, there's some cracking names in here, Tom. Jason Tart is back for another go. We've got who else? We got Mikhailo Larkov. We've got Michael Coulomb. We've got Matusz Baranovsky.
Wow.
Lee Shanker. And Juan Pedro Duran. Spanish player, 49 years old. Not entirely sure how many games he's played in the past. Oh, he's played quite a lot on Q Tour over the last year. He did win one match against Darren Hill 3-0. That's the only match he's ever won in his career.
Ah, okay. Well, I mean, the youngest player at 12 is Adam Abbas, and then the oldest player is Tony Knowles, who's 69. So yeah. I'm quite sure one of us will pick one of them, because that always seems to happen. But
I'm sure.
Oh, I've just seen a name I already know I'm going to pick, Joe.
Oh, well, shall we get into it? So we've got 8 picks, Tom, and we use the ABBA format, as I always say. So that means Tom will get first pick, because I'm going to give him first pick. Then I'll get 2, then he'll get 2, and so on until we reach all 8 of our selections. We can't pick the same player as each other. We've got to have distinct teams. And Tom, yeah, who are you going to go for first?
I worry that this just is going to become us picking the same names we always pick, but I'm going to start with one who you may have heard of him from last year. You may have seen him in the snooker shootout, I believe. Oh, he's dropping the bomb. Who is it? It's only bloody Stephen Wardropper.
Hey, Stephen Wardropper is in the team for Tom. Of course, has been a big part of Tom's teams in the past. He wasn't in the team last year. I don't think he was the year before, Tom. I think you've just picked him for the shootout before. You've never picked him for Q School. So there you go.
Not?
You've not. You must have only picked him for the shootout.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
There you go.
Welcome to the team, Stephen.
Welcome to the team. So I am going to be a little bit more serious than normal. Boo. And I'm going to actually start off quite strong, I think, with... Ooh, there's a couple I've got in mind here. I'm going to go for Big David Grace. I like Dave Grace. I did actually back him to qualify for the Crucible, so hopefully he won't let me down twice in a year. That would be pretty sad, wouldn't it? I'm also going to go for the Federer of the Bays, Alexander Ursenbacher, who I know is a popular one with you, Tom. But he is, of course, one of our Snooker Loopy intro songs is Alexander Ursenbacher, so of course he has to be in one of our teams. Right, two picks for you, Tom.
Well, I have to back the Sheriff of Tottenham, mate. Anthony Hamilton, I think.
Ooh, back in an immediate return for Anthony Hamilton. I think it would be a big shock if he didn't get back on. And I think he has said if he doesn't get back on, he will retire.
Oh, okay. Let's put him with another older man. Didn't mean to phrase it like that, but okay, let's put him with another older man. Let's put him with I mean, he's just won at the Crucible, so surely Alfie Burden's got a shot, right? Alfie Burden.
Oh, Alfie Burden is another one of Tom's picks. So back to me. I am going to. Well, I mean, this has been a popular pick over the last couple of years. Richard Pipe, otherwise known as Dick Pipe. We have to.
I knew it. There's no way.
We have to get Dick Pipe in there. I can't go past that name. He is 59 years old. 33 years ago, he turned professional. He's the class of 1991. Dick Pipe is going to be there, and I think he's going to do very well. I believe that. I'm also going to go. In the past, I've picked Ronnie Sullivan. This time, I'm going to go for Sean O'Sullivan. So Sean O'Sullivan is going to be my pick because I do like a bit of Sean O'Sullivan. And I believe he was in that same tournament where I played Elliot Slesser. Obviously, a different region. He's not from the same thing. But I believe Sean O'Sullivan played in that tournament as well.
I mean, a part of the reason this name has stuck out for me is because he's right above Dick Pipe. But I'm going to go for Richard Binns.
Richard Binns.
Mm-hmm. Go on, Binns.
Go on, Binsy. Binsy. Richard Binns. Do you know anything about Richard Binns?
He's 37. 11 days ago. Happy birthday, Richard Binns.
He did win a match on Q Tour last year. He beat Elias Martin Berris. So,
Okay, we know he's won one match in his career, so bodes well. Bodes well for Richard Binns.
He has actually won some matches at Q School before. He got to the third round of Q School before losing out to Andy Hicks back in 2019.
Hey,
You've got another pick.
What name are you laughing at now?
There's a certain German player. First name begins with U.
He'd go very well with Richard Pipe, I think.
He would.
Oh my god, William Lemons. I have to go for that. Come on, Lemons. He's against Tony Knowles. William Lemons versus Tony Knowles. Clash of the Titans.
Oh, right. Let's have a look at William Lemons' career over the years. He has... he played at the shootout one year. He played against Fergal O'Brien in the 2018 shootout, lost 44-31 in a marathon match. He's also played in the World Championship qualifiers. He played Robert Milkins, lost 10-6 in the first round in 2015. So William Lemons, he played in the Australian Open and he beat Vinny Calbrese 5-4 before losing to a certain Alfie Burden 5-1. And hey, this is looking like a dark horse pick.
Come on, William Lemons.
Willie Lemons. Well done. Oh, that's brilliant. Right, so I've now got two picks. Again, I'm going to be serious about this. I've got to be serious about this. Mark Joyce is in there again, interestingly. He's giving it another go. I just love the idea of Lee Shanker. Because I just love he just sounds so violent. Now, Lee Shanker, let's have a little look at his career so far. So he's done nothing in his career. He's won a couple of matches at Q School in the past, bless him. Bless his cotton socks. And he's actually been going at this for quite some time. Since 2010, Lee Shanker's been playing some sort of professional snooker. But yes, he's going to be in my team. I'm also going to go for...
Hold on, Joe. Just quickly. I've quickly Googled Lee Shanker. You said he looked violent, and if you look at that picture there...
Oh dear, let's have a look at this. Hazel. Whoops. Let's have a little look. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, Lee Shanker has definitely shanked a few people in his time. I think that's fair to say. We've got the Hussein brothers back in there, Tom. We've got Hamim Hussein. We've got Halim Hussein. Gary Widdicombe as well, you know. Gary Skipworth to go with Binns. I might have to go with Gary Skipworth to go to face off against Richard Binns.
Oh, I hope they play doubles together. That'd be great.
So Gary Skipworth, just to let you know a little bit about him. He has been playing on the Q2 of the last season. He won one match against Sam Mountain. But yes, so I don't...
Sam Mountain? Is he in it?
He's not, actually. He's not there.
Oh, got it.
But there you go. There you go, Tom. And Gary Skipworth will be playing Jay Bullen in Q School Round 1. For those that are interested. Right, you've got 2 picks.
Oh, I'm going to go for this person because he's French. I don't think there's ever been a French professional. Nicolas Montreux.
Ooh, Nicolas Montreux. Okay. Nicolas Montreux. Okay, cool. And your second pick?
How many picks have I got left after this?
You've got one more pick after this.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to make this one a more realistic possibility, I'll call it. So I'm gonna go for former pro. I think he's come through Q School before. I think he's been doing all right at the 900 events. I'm gonna go for Billy Castle.
Oh, nice one. I had my eye on Billy Castle, I have to say. Right.
I mean, some of the other pros in here, Joe. You know, James Cahill, he's in there. Harvey Chandler, Peter Devlin, who we've had on Cue the Music before, of course.
Yeah, there's a lot of great players. I mean, you know, Dylan Emery, of course, has had his... Has he had his card renewed? Was that something that I'd heard? Dylan, or am I getting me wires crossed here? Did Dylan?
No, someone. Who was it? Was it someone else? Dylan.
Yeah.
Whoever's ranked top of the tour thing.
Q tour thing, yeah.
Because Zhao Xingtong has qualified, they gave whoever was top of the Q Tour rankings who hadn't qualified a tour place. So that one.
Yeah, I could have sworn it was Dylan Emery, but you sent...
I'll just look it up on the Wikipedia page just to double check because I think he might be correct. Yeah, Dylan Emery. Okay, so he's just not been removed from this, but he is definitely.
Yeah, I could cheat. I could cheat here, and I could pick him. No, we're not going to go for that. We have got Craig Steadman in there, of course. He's been a pro before. We've got Jeff Cundy in there. Gary Filtness, Gerard Green, Andy Neck, former Q School favourite. I think I'm going to go for a player that has been off the tour a little while, but it would be good to see him back. Rory McLeod, I'm going to go for. And my final pick is going to be Ooh, I'm going to go for Snooker Night. No, I'm not actually. I'm going to go for Estonia's finest, Andrei Petrov. Because I quite like him on social media. I do like a bit of Andres Petrov. So, yes, you have got one more pick, Tom. One more pick.
Wow.
Just to recap, Tom, you have got Stephen Wardropper, Anthony Hamilton, Alfie Burden, Richard Binns, William Lemons, Nicholas Montreux, and Billy Castle.
Well, there's only about 3 of them who I literally didn't pick for a joke, so... But sometimes you pick a Jensen Kendrick and it works. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works.
So, okay, I'm going to have to even out with someone who's also an ex-pro, because I've not got... Then I've probably got half and half, I'd say, if I did that. So, looking at all the players who used to be pros, or maybe the players who just fallen off tour, perhaps. I think I went for him 2 years ago. He's just fallen off tour. Let's go for Andrew Higginson.
Just a correction there, Tom. Actually, Higginson was my pick a couple of years ago.
Oh, was it? Oh, sorry.
So you're just stealing my former player.
He's come to the dark side, Joe.
He's come to the dark side. So, to recap your team, and should we pick team captains this year? Since give us double points like we do at the shootout. So you've got Stephen Wardrop, Anthony Hamilton, Alfie Burden, Richard Binns, William Lemons, Nicholas Montreux, Billy Castle, William Lemons, and Andrew Higginson.
I got William Lemons 4 times. What's happening there? Well, so he's definitely my team captain. He's in it 4 times. He's going to turn up wearing different outfits. He's going to do great.
Is he actually your captain?
You know what? I'm going to back the Lemons. I'm backing William Lemons.
Backing William Lemons.
Oh, yep. Joe swayed me there, for God's sake.
Yeah, well, that was easy, wasn't it?
Dick pipe.
So to recap my team,
who's your cap dick pipe going to be?
I've got David Grace, Alexander Ursenbacher, Richard Dickpipe, Sean O'Sullivan, Lee Shanker, Gary Skipworth, Rory McLeod, and Andres Petrov. I actually feel like this could be a year where none of the pros we've picked are going to qualify. I'm going to back Sean O'Sullivan to be my captain, actually. So there you go. There you go.
He's not a bad shout. He's a decent player. You know, he's got a 147. He's got a good surname.
So every match that they win, they will get 1 point. If they qualify for the tour, they will get 10 points. If it is your team captain, they will get double points. So there you go, Tom. That is Cue the Laughter. That is our Q School predictions. Let us know your team of 8 in the comments section or email us at snookerloopypodcast@gmail.com. And speaking of which, Tom, shall we do some Fan Zhengyi email?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's open the Fan Zhengyi box.
The Fan Zhengyi box. And we do have 5 Fan Zhengyi emails that have come through since the conclusion of the World Snooker Championship. We have got Bernie from New York.
I'm going to get my charger really quickly. Can you just sing a jingle before I go get my charger?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I will keep going. Tom has disappeared in the background there. He's charging everything up, and look at that. There he goes. He puts it into the laptop. He's out of his seat once again, and now he sits down. And what's he going to do? He's going to put his headphones in. Where's the headphone going? It's in his ear. There we go, and he is back. So, hello, Tom. You are back. I didn't do anything. I just commentated on you walking around your room, but there you go. So our first Fan Zhengyi email, Tom, is from Bernie from New York. He has sent us a video of a 200 ball run in straight pool So I'm sure we will check that out for cue the laughter, or lights, camera, Jackson Page, maybe, Possibly we'll do that in the future. But thank you, Bernie, for sending that. Archie Smith has got in contact, regular podcast contributor, Archie Smith. He says, "Dear both, hope you are well. I don't know about you, but the days after the World Championships are over are always a little bit flat, especially this year, as you have alluded to, with the post-match celebrations with Sintong. But it really has been a wonderful World Championship. I thought the BBC were, as always, excellent with their coverage with Hazel and the rest of them. Although I was disappointed with their features they usually do at the mid-session intervals. The semi-final and final were brilliant, but the rest of the tournament, all they did was show what was going on the other side of the arena. I hope I can go to.
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
no, absolutely. I hope I can go to the Crucible next year and experience the atmosphere around Sheffield. By the way, I've just been watching some of your Cue the Music from older podcasts, and my favourite is Ken Doherty singing "Catch the Pigeon" and John Virgo shouting, "Where's the pigeon going?" And finally, another huge well done for your growth over the championship. Can you believe that you're edging closer to 500 subscribers? Thank you, Archie Smith. So thank you very much for that, Archie. We really do appreciate the support, and I think we very much sort of resonate with a lot of the things that you've said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I do agree. The features, there was no standout silly ones, were they? Which was a bit of a shame, but yeah. Till they hire me and Joe, nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. We have had an email from Rakuten from Sweden. He has got in touch and sent us a possible Cue the Music snooker tune there. He says, maybe you know this, with a little sort of curious looking emoji. We will check that out. We will definitely check that out. So thank you very much for that submission. We have also been contacted by William Matthews, who says,
I thought you were going to say
Hazel.
William Lemons.
It wasn't William Lemons, I'm afraid.
Please pick me. Please make me your captain.
He says, good evening, Hazel. He says, just drop in a Fanjeng email to express my thanks for your work and the podcast you create. You're very welcome. Thank you for listening. I have been listening since you published your 4th episode, and it's exactly what I was searching for when I got back into watching snooker in 2023. Recently, you mentioned wanting to do an episode on movies featuring snooker and requested some suggestions. So here goes. So he's got the Rack Pack. You mentioned this, and I highly recommend it. It's more about how Alex Higgins is tormented by the talent of Steve Davis and takes a lot of liberties with real life, but the performances are superb. Especially Lee Treadaway, who, although not looking like Alex Higgins, really captures his energy and despair. The entire film is no longer on BBC iPlayer, but can be watched on YouTube. And there we go. Fantastic. Thank you for sending that link. Billy the Kid and the Green Bay's Vampire. This is a weird one. It's a fictionalized account of the relationship between Dracula himself, Ray Reardon, and Jimmy White, Alan Armstrong and Phil Daniels, regarding a final match between the two where the loser must end his career. Also, it's a musical. Also, Maxwell Randall, or rather the thinly disguised Ray Reardon, may actually be a vampire. Again, it can be viewed on YouTube, so he sent a link to that. He has also suggested Number One. The stars in this one: Mel Smith, Alison Steadman, so on and so on. Alan Armstrong and Phil Daniels again, weirdly. Ted Low's in there. It's another Alex Higgins take with the characters' names changed. This time, Bob Geldof plays Harry Flash Gordon on the path to one last shot at the World Championship, whilst also playing dodgy matches for money. And he has got it on YouTube, which is in 15-minute chunks. Okay, cool. And one more, Legend of the Dragon. If you've watched, and I'm sure you have, the BBC's documentary When Snooker Ruled the World, you've seen clips of this insane martial arts snooker movie with Jimmy White. Stephen Chow would later find fame remaking this very same film with football in Shaolin soccer This is the only one on this list I can't find online, but it's definitely worth hunting down. Hope you enjoy these movies, and I'm sure you've heard of all of them. I look forward to hearing your comments on the podcast. So, yes, this is from Will, the insert random adjective here, assassin Matthews. So yes, he is. I mean, we've got to just stick with insert random adjective here, Assassin Matthews as his nickname. But yeah, thank you very much, Will, for sending that across. We really do appreciate it. And over the summer, we will hopefully be checking out a lot of those films for Lights, Camera, Jackson Page. And we have one more, Tom. We have one more.
There we go.
From Alok, of course, a regular contributor, and of course contributed that wonderful Crucible story, which brought about Barry Hearn realizing his ways, and yeah, what was fabulous to really see in the end of the season, wasn't it? But he says, "Hey guys, hope you are good and coping with the post-World Championship depression. Just wanted to say a massive thank you for the daily content over the World Championship. It was great fun and hope the podcast continues to grow. Hope you are looking forward to Q School. Great news that it's free to watch this year. Also, I was trying to imagine Rob Walker as a weatherman. I think it's something the BBC should try out. Anyway, good luck, guys, and remember, there's always a gap. Best wishes, Alok." Thank you very much, Alok.
Alok, are you all right, mate? Why were you... Just... I was trying to imagine Rob Walker as a weatherman.
Some people are just crazy in this world, Tom. I think sometimes I think we're the only normal ones.
Yeah, I think so. I think we started this podcast thinking we were the weirdest snooker fans, but then the really weird ones found us.
Yeah, and you know, I can't wait to see some teams that go even weirder than having Will Lemons and Gary Skipworth and Richard Binns in their Q School teams. You know. What's going to be Richard Binns' nickname?
Oh, what could it be? I mean, surely. Do you reckon he plays dressed up as rubbish, like Stephen Hendry?
He should do. Yeah. I think his name should be Wheelie.
Oh, I was thinking.
It's Richard Wheelie Binns.
I was thinking it would be more like, he's ready to take out the trash. It's Richard Binns. Like,
yeah, he's anything but faithless. It's Richard Binns.
Plays my old man's a dustman as he walks out. You know.
Yeah. Fantastic. But yeah, thank you very much for all your contributions. Do get in touch with the email address below and in the YouTube comments. We really do appreciate it. Have you had any messages, Tom?
I've had a few comments on the old different Cue the Laughters that's on my channel. I'll just find those up quickly. But yeah, and I've got another message which comes into Cue the Laughter where we've got an audience submission for the first time.
Cue the music, Tom, not cue the
music. Sorry, cue the music. Cue the music. So we have Ian doing Cue the Music, and he's been pestering me for days going, have you recorded yet? Have you recorded yet? So he's excited, if no one else.
Yes. Yeah. Looking forward to that later in the show.
But yeah, and you've been we should say you've been back playing, haven't you? How's your season on the base project?
It's very up and down. They've sort of split the league this time. So I finished third. Well, no, I've finished second the last 2 years in the league, and then they've sort of split it into two divisions now. So you've got the sort of top division where there's some new players in there, and then you've sort of got the second division, which is the people that are a bit newer to snooker. So it's been a bit up and down. I think every match has finished 3-2 so far, either way. But yeah, very early days in the season. But we will see. We will see what happens. I will keep you in the loop of where I finish this year. But yeah,
here we go then. So
here we go.
Well, the most recent comment I had on the it's John Virgo singing Snooker Loopy. And Paul Clark says, does he know the special words to Lady in Red that only snooker pros and selected commentators know? I believe he's referring to Tables of Red, which is a Mitchell & Webb sketch, and we'll be talking more about that in a future Cue the Music slash Cue the Laughter, because that's such a it's a bit of a it's a modern classic kind of in terms of snooker culture.
Snooker
the
music.
whole,
Yeah.
No, but the whole and that's a bad miss. It's
yeah.
almost as well known as Where's the Cue Ball Going, really, amongst snooker fans. So we'll definitely be talking about that in a future episode.
Yeah, we'll probably do it as a double bill of Cue the Laughter and Cue the Music for that one. But speaking of Cue the Music, Tom, shall we get to our regular segment of Cueing the Music?
Let's cue it up. Here we go. We're chalking our cue, and today our cue is Ian's head.
Thanks, Ian. So go on,
Ian,
Tom. Tell us a little bit about this viewer submission.
Well, Ian's been a very long time fan of the podcast. Always messaging in. He always says he really enjoys it. He was actually at the qualifiers this year, and he had pictures with people like Stuart Bingham, and I think he had pictures with like Mitchell Mann or someone like that. He's had loads of different players. He showed me about 10 different pictures of him posing with these players. So he's clearly a proper snooker fan, and so I've got high hopes for this.
Well, let's give it a listen, I suppose, Tom.
Hi chaps, Ian Marvel McKeown here. This could be used for Cue the Laughter or Cue the Music, however you want to take it. Here we go. Snooker Loopy nuts are we, me and him and them and me. We'll show you what we can do with a load of balls and a snooker cue. Pot the red then, screw back for the yellow, green, brown, blue, pink and black. Snooker Loopy nuts are we, we're all snooker loopy. I just want to say a big shout out to you chaps. Brilliant podcast. I've got 2 predictions only for the Q School. My friend Andrew Higginson and another friend Gary Thompson. With a shout out to security / ref Mark King, and a massive shout out to my friend and ref Andrew Yates. I just want to say happy retirement to Joe Perry and Dominic Dale. This year's championship, wow, yeah. Recording this on the start of the quarterfinals. So, yep, and all the best to you guys.
Well, there we have it, Hazel. Thank you very much, Ian, for your very kind words to not just us, but to Joe Perry and Andrew Higgins. I mean, he was flashing his friends a little bit. He was flexing, the circles. He's my friend Andrew Higginson.
Yeah.
But no, thank you very much for that, Ian. And yes, another version of Snooker Loopy, Tom, for us to analyse and delve into. So why don't you get us into that analysis, Tom?
Enjoyed it. He sang all the words. He did it in order. Do you know what I mean?
He sounded like he forgot them at one point.
I definitely heard the rustle of paper at the end. He may have been reading them out. You'd think after listening to 20 different versions on this podcast, you'd know the word.
Well, yeah, exactly. Dennis started this trend off, and Dennis was able to read it from memory. He had that ingrained about his goggles. So thank you very much to Dennis. But we've had a variety of different viewer submissions for this, haven't we? I don't think anything will ever top Chris Reed with his musical accompaniment and key change.
That was top tier. That was incredible. And still waiting for the full band studio version, Chris. Don't think I'm still waiting. It's been over a year, mate. Come on, get it. Put it on Spotify. Sort it out, mate.
Yeah, I mean, what we have to say is will Ian be down in the doldrums with Bill Big Werbinak's 147 pints mix of Hurricane Hoggins and Snooker Loopy and BBC Snooker theme, or will he be right up there with the likes of King of the Crucible by DJ Banksy featuring Rob Walker? Is he going to be up there with Everlasting Love, Joe Johnson, or is he going to be somewhere in the middle, Tom?
Well, he did say to me, Ian. He said, "Oh, I hope I'm not -4 points." He said, I should do better than that." And I was like, "Oh, don't lay down that marker, Ian. Don't do that.
Don't tempt us. Don't tempt us."
I'd say Ian he's like a Dominic Dale, good, solid, mid-tier snooker loopy player. Do you know what I mean? He's that kind of level. I'd give him a. I liked the message. It was very heartfelt. He gave a shout out to a referee, which was very sweet. So give him a 6 for that.
He's getting a 6. So it's the 6 because he gave the nice message at the end, Tom. Would you have given him less if he hadn't given a nice message?
Well, people think we give out these scores willy-nilly, but no, me and Joe do actual like scientific tests and all this stuff. There's a real formula that goes into it, and it's like, well, he gets a bit lower because he had the rustle of the paper, but he gets a bit higher because, he gave a good message, but then it goes down a bit just because he did tempt me by saying that he should be above -4, which did tempt me. But then I do like him, so it goes up a bit, but then it does go down a bit because he did mention Dominic Dale and Joe Perry, and it's not really about them, but fine. And it goes down a bit again because he mentioned Andrew Higginson, and I'm like, why don't you get them? If Andrew Higginson's your mate, Ian, get him to record it for us. There we go.
Yeah, and then we'll give you an 8. Okay, that's the
That's the marker laid down.
That's
if you
the
get
deal.
Andrew Higginson to record it, we'll give you an 8.
I'm going to be a bit harsher on Ian here, simply because I'm looking at some of our other scores for Snooker Loopies, and I actually gave Dennis a 6 on that very first episode, and from what we've said, maybe Dennis's was slightly better because he wasn't rustling the papers, as we say. I gave Ken Doherty a 5.5. And I gave Alex Erzenbach a 5.5. I think it was better than that, I have to say. So I'm going to give you a 5.75, Ian, but that'll be all.
Oh, he's gone all John Virgo on you as well.
No, I'm not having that. No, but yeah, that gives him the first ever 3 decimal places score of a 5.875. So you are a record breaker in your own right, Ian. So thank you very much for your submission. But we did say this, me and Tom, a little while ago, and you're unfortunately the first victim of this. We said if we keep getting these viewer submissions and we keep giving 10s out of these viewer submissions, we're just going to have a top 10 of Snooker Loopies. So we had to force ourselves to be a little bit harsher on it. So luckily for Fionn and Ryan Walker, they slipped through the gap of that. But it puts him, nicely mid-table, I think. It puts him above Ken Doherty and Alexander Ersenbach. It puts him in at number 38, and I think I would take 38, especially if my friends Andrew Higginson and Josh Thompson, or Gary Thompson, was it? Or Josh, can't remember who it was. But he was playing in, eh?
Ian, can you record it as a duet with Andrew Higginson? Just you two together.
Yeah, Gary Thompson, who of course is taking part in Q School. We didn't select him, unfortunately. But
I mean, Joe, do you know what this means technically? If no one I choose qualifies and no one you choose qualifies, but Gary Thompson does, technically Ian would win the prediction contest.
Yes, technically he would. Yeah.
Good luck, Ian.
Good luck, Ian. But no, thank you very much for that. And of course, if you do want to send us viewer submissions, please, email them across. Ideally, as an MP3 format, so that we can download them, get them in the podcast to the viewers. That would be fantastic. And of course, we want to keep that going. And it's all a good bit of fun. And just remember, you're ahead of the Romford rap by the Matchroom Mob. So I think that is pretty amazing, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Somewhere Over the Rainbow by Alex Higgins' great niece. But we're not going to talk about that too much. But I've got one final thing for you, Tom. Of course, over the World Championship, we did run our predictions, didn't we? And we haven't yet reviewed our predictions of the World Championship. Do you remember who you backed to go all the way?
I backed. I think it was a good prediction backing the four-time world champion Mark Selby to go all the way. Logically, that would make perfect sense. How did he do, Joe?
He went out in the first round. And I might remind you that I was backing Judd Trump, but I couldn't click it, so I actually backed Kyron Wilson. So he went out in the first round as well. So both of our predictions, Tom, went out in the first round. In fact, looking at my predictions in general, I don't think I did very well this year, Tom. But, I'm going to get yours up as well, and I'm going to sort of talk you through the sort of journey that we've both been on, I guess. First round, we both were pretty similar, actually. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the first round winners. Zintong, Wakelin, Allen, O'Sullivan, Higgins, Gudong, Mark Williams, and Sean Murphy. I also managed to get 8. Zintong, O'Sullivan, Pang Junsu, Si Jarwi, John Higgins, Gudong, Murphy, and Judd Trump. But then it started to go downhill for both of us. Round 2.
Can't we end it there and go, yeah, we got 50% of them right. Yeah, we smashed it.
Round 2, we both predicted 3 of the winners there. You got Chris Wakelin, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and Mark J. Williams. I got Ronnie O'Sullivan, John Higgins, and Judd Trump.
There we are.
And in fact, we both got one of the quarter-finalists, Tom. You got Mark Williams, and I got Judd Trump. But then I didn't get any more. So I was out at that point. But Mark Williams, of course, won one extra match, and he got through the semi-finals, meaning, Tom, that you are this year's winner. Now, even better than that, Tom, you finished 186th in the rankings out of 1,206. You got 26 points, which was 32.5%, whereas I, even though we only predicted one match different, I finished down in 764th place. It was quite a disaster, to say the least.
Well, it all hung on that Williams Trump semi-final, which is incredible, really. That wasn't just about who's gonna get to the final. It was about who was gonna win this competition.
But I think we were both happy that Mark Williams won it, and I'm quite happy to lose this one. You've won the battle, but not the war. As I keep saying.
Trump will be shaking his fist at that Hannard curse right there.
Yes, he will be. Yeah. But there you go. There you have it. There is our sort of end of season, start of season podcast. Our Q School predictions. We will, of course, be back in the coming weeks with our Q School review. We'll be maybe previewing the season in general, looking ahead to the tournaments, making some predictions. Once we know the 128 players that will be on tour next season. But any final thoughts on the 24-25 season, Tom?
I think it's been a really good season. I think it's been a nice sort of number of new players getting their first ranking titles, a few players making breakthroughs, two names probably Zhao Gudon and Chris Wakelin. It's been good to see them both raise up there. Jingtong's back, and it was kind of a massive, he's back probably where he should have been anyway, so it's good to see him back. I will. Part of me, I'll be sad that we'll no longer have Dominic Dale and Joe Perry on the tour. That does feel a real, we're kind of seeing, a lot of these older players fall off tour in the last few years. We had Fergal O'Brien and we had Mark King for different reasons. Now, of course, Joe Perry, Dominic Dale. There's very few players who, we talk about the class of '92, but Joe Perry, Dominic Dale were both '92. I think the only players earlier than them is probably like Mark Davis, Anthony Hamilton, Crafty Kem, Jimmy White now. So, and Hamilton might also fall off. So it feels like we really are seeing, a lot of players who were part of snooker history fall off. So I will miss both those players. And I do think Dale, again, I've said it before, he retired too early. He got 4 centuries at the seniors. Do you know what I mean? He still can play.
Yeah.
So,
He's just not enjoying it though, is he? So
yeah, to be fair.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
So I think I will. We'll be sad we won't see some of those players next season. But hey, Stephen Hallworth's going to be back on tour. So do you know what I mean?
Yes, we've replaced the space sausage for the original Lincolnshire sausage, and I think we can all be happy about that.
Absolutely. Have you got any thoughts about the season, mate?
No, just a great season. A big battle between Judd Trump and Kyron Wilson that ended with Zhao Xintong winning the World Championship. It just shows that is just completely a separate tournament, a separate entity. Good to see Mark Selby back to form, John Higgins back in the winners' enclosure, and good to see Ronnie playing again at the World Championship. And I think it sets us up for a really exciting season next year. You've got Neil Robertson back at his best. You've got Sean Murphy back at his best. Ronnie, John, and Mark Williams still going. Mark Selby, Judd Trump, Kyron Wilson, Zhao Xintong. And we haven't even mentioned the likes of Mark Allen, Stu Bingham, Luca Brissell, all these players that can compete on their day, Barry Hawkins. I think next season is going to be a cracking season, and I'm looking forward to covering it. And I think we both are looking forward to that. Obviously, through various reasons, the start of this season, we didn't have as much content because things were going on in both of our lives at that time. But we shouldn't have that problem next year, touch wood. So hopefully we'll be able to keep you abreast of all of the Snooker Loopy nonsense over the 2025-26 season. And I can't wait for some of our summer episodes as well. We've got some really silly things lined up, and that's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be great. And also, one final thing, we've talked about there being possibly 2 more years of the Crucible. Of course, Marco Fu and a certain Jimmy White have had invitational tour cards. So we've got at least 2 more times if Jimmy White being flying in practice and hoping to qualify.
Go on, Jimmy, go on.
Can you imagine if he got there for the last time in 27 and he managed to get there? Can you imagine?
Can you imagine if Hendry makes another comeback and he and Jimmy White and Stephen Hendry are in the final of the 2027 World Championship? Jimmy finally wins his World Championship, and then it's off into the ether forever.
Place your bets now, folks. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I'll tell you what, you'll get some decent odds for that.
Just emailing Hendry going, please, can you come back? I've put 50 quid on you, please.
Please. And then he'll reject your memo saying, awkward.
Oh, lovely. Well, enjoy Q-School, folks. As we've said, you can follow it. So I think it's on YouTube. They're going to be streaming it this year, I believe.
I believe it starts Wednesday the 22nd, 21st, whatever it is. Yes, it will be on WST Play. Looking forward to it. Look forward to following it, and look forward to reviewing it, as always, Tom.
Lovely. And we'll catch you all very soon. Comments below, fan email, all that stuff, and we'll see you later.